Thank you, Antonio, for that presentation. On yesterday morning's DTAC panel discussion, our member airlines expressed the importance of an open data ecosystem in order to achieve our digital airline ambition. There are two key components to achieving this. One is open APIs, which allows you to securely exchange data, and the other is trust frameworks and ID management, identity management. We're now going to talk about open APIs, and there's no better person than our own Matt McKinley, who's Senior Manager of Technology Standards at IATA, to talk us through this. Matt, over to you.
So good morning, everyone. Thanks, Shane, for that too kind introduction. I wanted to come talk to you guys today about what we've been doing on the open API front. If you remember, 2 years ago, I came to, where were we in? I think Thailand, talking to you a bit about what we were working on with the industry on the open API front, from the standard point of view, from the discoverability point of view, and I'm really excited for this session because as part of this track, we've got 2 organizations that are actually implementing, walking the walk, and actually innovating using open APIs. But before we get to them, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on what we've been doing at IATA over the last 2 years, especially in light of the ongoing industry crisis. But before that, I'm going to try to make a few friends in the room. And who here has traveled to get to this event today? Just raise your right arm. Okay, now we're working. All right. Who here checked in online? Raise your left arm. Okay, now stand up. No, I'm kidding. Now, good morning. So basically, my name is Matt McKinley. I'm Senior Manager Technology Standards. I look after everything Open API, everything data model, everything XML standards, identity management standards, which Marie will cover in a bit. But really happy to see you. And what's exciting about the travel journeys, and I liked Kate's experience, Antonio. I think it summarizes well our journeys to get here. It's really powered by APIs. I mean, APIs are really behind absolutely every part of your travel experience. From the time that you're shopping for flights, from the time that you swipe right on your phone to pay for the flight, to when you check in online, when you get the Uber to get to the airport, and even when you're constantly refreshing that flight status when you're sitting at the airport bar trying to figure out that last minute when you have to run to your gate. And for those of you wondering, that is a real use case that's documented in our standards. The point is that APIs are documented absolutely everywhere. They're provided everywhere, and it's something that if we as an industry don't collectively have a kind of a joint approach on, can get pretty messy pretty quick. We know that a lot of you have plans to publish open APIs. As an IATA survey a few years ago, just before COVID actually, there were about 70% of you that said that, yes, we had plans to open up our connections through open APIs, expose our endpoints to new business partners, try to get some new innovation with new entrants in the market, and then COVID hit. But I know what you're thinking. Matt, with so many APIs, let's assume that we reach that 70% mark. I mean, quick math, 350 airlines, 20, 30, 40,000 travel agencies, even more IT providers. That number can get pretty high pretty quickly. Doesn't that bring some complexity into the equation? And yeah, it's true. There's a few things that we need to tackle as an industry, but fortunately, we are quite resilient and really keen on jumping onto this early. So about 2 or 3 years ago, we put together something called the Open Air program, which is, you probably see Open Air branded around different IATA activities. Open Air was an attempt at addressing and fixing the challenges that you see here on the screen. These challenges really, basically, they are grouped under 2 different areas. One, let's say interoperability, and then say the other one is discoverability. For the sake of argument, I'm going to group common semantics under interoperability. But these are the two items that we really tried to work with you as an industry, as IATA, in order to address. So we put together the Open Air program, if we tackle interoperability first, in order to work on building a common standard that would enable you to exchange data in a consistent way. And I'm not necessarily just talking about the standards that you help us build as IATA, like the NDC standard or the one order standard. I'm talking about the interface specification that you could use for your own proprietary APIs. We're looking at trying to put together common standards so that you can expose your endpoints in a consistent way. So about 2-3 years ago, about 30 airlines and partners got together to try to figure out what's the best way to tackle this problem. On the common semantics side, we already have something called the Airline Industry Data Model, which is essentially a dictionary for all the terms and the definitions used in our data exchange standards, like NDC, like one order, boarding pass, API validation, the list goes on. So we've got that as a starting point, so that's good. But from the API point of view, from the technical spec, where do we go? We had quite clear guidance from you as airlines and partners. Keep it simple. Let's see what the other industries are doing, and whatever we put out there needs to be scalable and interoperable across other industries. Because let's be honest, we don't just operate in our own industry, but we're trying to expand and go across borders here. So what we've done is put together a group of airlines and airline partners with this goal in mind. And we centered around an open standard that you might know, Open API Specification 3.0, which is just a standard that's been used around different industries. It's something that I would venture to guess a lot of your organizations probably already support today. And it's something that would achieve those two tasks that I just mentioned that were set out by the airlines. Interoperability and simplicity. We converged on that one standard, so that's what we've been building from the Open API side. So all the standards that we built over the last few years have really been adhering to this standard. We built 6 in the last 2 years, which is quite impressive. Considering the predicament and the resourcing limitations that I know a lot of you have on the airline side. And from that, we've been able to move the industry, well, hopefully move the industry forward on the journey towards Open API adoption. But we don't just stop with Open APIs. We've also been looking with our industry groups, with the Architecture and Technology Strategy Board and the Digital Transformation Advisory Council, at ways that we can help to speed along the adoption of Open APIs. So one thing that we've done on the industry standard side is looked at a more flexible standard development and release cycle. Gone are the days that we can spend 2 years developing a standard that we need yesterday. So we put in place a more robust release management process, defect handling, things like that, just so that we can react a lot more quickly to the changing requirements of the industry as we look towards restart. The other thing that we've done on the IATA side is we've partnered with SmartBear to utilize Swagger Hub as an API design and collaboration tool for industry standard purposes. And the idea here is that it provides a way for the industry working groups to build these standard API specs, be able to share comments, and eventually export an open API specification that you can take and load up into the API design tool of your choice. So that's another good thing that we've done. The last thing I wanted to mention was that we're also working on, outside of the industry standards work, helping you to have the tools you need as developers and as organizations to move towards open API adoption. So there'll be more information in the next few months, but just a teaser, we're looking at things like machine-readable rules frameworks so that you can make sure that your APIs are adhering to the latest industry best practices. We're looking at things like JSON object libraries, which is equivalent of, Legos or building blocks for developers. You can use the definitions that are stored in the airline industry data model in the APIs of your choice. And at least we have that common semantic layer when it comes to exposing your APIs. So that's on interoperability. And then the last bit I just want to quickly touch on is discoverability. And to be honest, this is my favorite part, because this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. This is where we see who's out there taking that brave step forward to push towards that open API ecosystem. As of now, we've got about, I think there's around 18. There were 2 that just came in the last few weeks. So there are just under 20 airlines and partners that have taken that first step in order to open up their APIs, put them out there in a controlled and secure manner. And one way that we as IATA are trying to help you with the exposure and publicity of your APIs is putting it on an API directory. We have a simple open-air API directory that will be launching a new, more robust platform in the next few months. So stay tuned for that. But for now, what we're trying to do is give some visibility and some recognition to you as first adopters of this API ecosystem. And the API adoption is not so complicated. You just need an open API spec. It's free of charge. Send it to us, and we'll load it up on the registry and give you the publicity that hopefully that you want to get new entrants into your business. You can find more information at iata.org/openair. And with that, I think I'm just out of time. So enough from me. What I'd like to do now is invite my colleague Serdar Gürpüz. He's Senior Vice President of Digital Innovation and Analytics Solutions at Turkish Airlines, and he's one of the gentlemen that's walking the walk, so to speak. So Serdar, please.
Thank you.